What'd you guys get?
We caught 3 birds.
Where were they?
They were trapped. There was like probably 7 or 8 of them trapped in one of these houses we made for the guineas. From chicken wire. Yeah.
So those are little something sparrows, something, right? I forget what they're called. Yellow-throated sparrows? Hey, or white-throated sparrows, that's what they're called. Look at that snow coming off the edge of there.
Yeah, over at the duck pen, there's a big piece coming off.
Oh, well, that's cool. At least you guys got them and can let them go.
And they were stuck in there. Unless they tried really hard, they could only get out.
Yeah, because it's a chicken wire fence
Yeah,
in
this
there.
one got its foot stuck, so I was able to get it.
Okay. Hey, walk back a little bit so I can see the little black spot fly away if they do. Okay, let's see what happens. Okay, next. Oh, it's probably tired too. Try yours, child. Whoa, there they go.
There they go. All the different trees.
Welcome back to the Abundant Harvest Homestead. I'm Papa Pepper. I was hoping that while it was still daylight, which is fading, the wind would kind of die down, which didn't happen. So hopefully there's not too much wind for you guys, because I wanted to show you some of the destruction that happened lately up in my garden. If you look around, we still got a bit of snow here. It's a definitely a rarer occurrence here in the Ozarks than it was in our native Wisconsin, but there's a couple things that come along with it. Number one, we just had a pretty massive snowfall for the area. I think if it would have been warmer, we would have got even more, but there was probably almost a foot of snowfall, and some definitely melted right away before the rest came, but then it snowed again and added even more. So there was some warmth to the ground when the snow had started falling, and that caused it to start melting as it was cooling down the earth, and then it started building up from there, and then it was sitting there, and then we got more. And I know I shot at least some video or took some photos, so I'll insert some of those now just for a frame of reference, and then I'll show you what happened here in my garden, which made me sad. Guys, this is like the thickest I've ever seen these woods. It's just covered up with snow.
Yeah, over there, the snow goes up to about here.
Wow, look at that. It's just wow. Because there's so much snow on top of each branch, it just kind of makes everything real thick. Now our van looks like it's got some sort of topper on it. We've been without power for about 24 hours. We made a few mistakes right away, but we're doing all right overall. Look at that coming off. Wow. I'm charging some computer battery and phone battery in the truck right now. And it makes me wish I would have gassed up the van all the way when I was out last too. A lot of mistakes that are being pointed out to us right now, which is good as long as you learn from them. Making a mistake makes no one a fool, but refusing to learn from them kind of proves you are. So we're gonna learn. But this is crazy. Big snowmen around here too. Look at this one on this side of the van. That thing's almost as tall as I am now. Yeah. When you get that much snow on a bunch of things that normally don't get that much weight, they create some issues. Staring at a big one right here. Right here is an apricot tree. Here's its kind of twin, if you will. I knew this one was on the way out. Some of it had started to die back last year, and then it started to kind of get fungus on it and stuff. So I am not completely sure, but there was obviously some things going on with the way it was growing that caused the roots not to do so well. I may just try planting these in the pasture in the future, rather than in kind of this rich, moist environment of my garden raised beds. This one's still alive and doing well, but look at that. Boom, tipped over, destroyed. Also, this was just kind of made with, you know, scrap stuff laying around. These cedars were not that big, nor were they that strong, and they've been here a couple years. If you saw these in all their glory, you would be like, wow, what an amazing archway, what a cool place, what a good thing. But obviously just not strong enough to handle the amount of snow that fell. So, you know, this used to be up quite a bit higher, and now it's coming down, which is fine. I was going to redo it anyway. What happens in a situation like this is it just moves it up on the timeline that you're going to redo it. And then a lot of people, when they use cattle panel archways, they will use T-posts to help support them. We never had any problems here so far, but we didn't get a snowfall like the one we just did either. So here's where I'm kind of growing 100%, which means there's a raised bed here, there's a raised bed there, and this cattle panel comes over the top of a walkway between them. That way I'm still getting food even where I'm walking with this raised bed. And that's kind of how they usually look. This one here, boom, kind of two-dimensional now. It is flat and sad. Guys, look at that. Ooh! Not happy, not happy. And I really just kind of tucked in the soil and just kind of ran rocks on each side. They did really well for a long time. Now this is actually bent, so there'll be some straightening out to do, some other things, and I may change up the way that I do them. If I want to, I have another kind of power, another experience or skill set in my grasp now that I've learned how to weld, so that could come in handy with some stuff like that. And here, this was another apricot tree, and it just busted off here. So it was doing good, growing up, and for some reason, whatever was landing on these branches here and these branches here of that snow just caused it to split right here. So I'm gonna prune it back. Some guys like this kind of heading the wrong way, but hopefully it'll bud out and set up some replacement branches. Oh, I see this. This should be a wheel bug egg sac sitting right there. So those are assassin bugs. They'll do pretty good in our garden. Part of our organic pest control posse. Ooh, and look at those guys. Those prickly pears have been growing here for years. They do good. Pad cacti are edible, so we like having them around here, but after that, oh yeah, look at that. See how cracked off that is? So just the amount of snow that fell on them, they just kind of all laid flat. So I'll see what I do. I could break them off and just kind of make a bigger row of them, but here's where the horseradish is. But yeah, I haven't seen it like this yet, where it just kind of all got squished flat. And that's part of what we're dealing with, you know, out here in the Ozarks. I think they had some biodome experiments. Remember that? Where they were trying to have this little self-contained ecosystem, and they were trying to have a dome and kind of have it be all self-contained. And what would happen is the trees would get big and they'd fall apart. And all of the strength that the wind, you know, being blown back and forth, and them having to be strong enough to hold that up, they never got that strength. So eventually just the sheer weight of them, without having the strength that, you know, wind and stuff would have provided, caused them just to kind of erupt and destroy themselves. Well, here we don't get a whole lot of heavy snowfalls. When we do, even we had a multiple day power outage. We learned a couple lessons on that. We made some good mistakes. I say good mistakes so we can learn from them, and because the power came back on, it would have been horrible mistakes if those things hadn't happened. But, you know, the power lines get heavy in either ice or snowstorms. A lot of the trees do. And if they're not used to a lot of that on a yearly basis, then they've never experienced it before. And just like if a person was suddenly piled on some big heavy weights on their shoulders, they'd crumble. They'd get crushed to the ground. Now, a bodybuilder, somebody who's lifting those weights all the time, they'd be fine. And that's kind of part of it too with some of our fruit trees. I try to keep them pruned back enough that they've actually got just a stronger base than if they just grew and grew and grew and grew and grew. Plus, we're trying to just take some of them, kind of have them be more of a mid-size, you know, kind of almost like a semi-dwarf size, where we can kind of always walk up and we don't got to go 30 feet up to get the food out of them, get the fruit. I think that makes more sense. A lot of things did good. You know, here's rebar and a big old wall of our Korean goji berries. That could have easily tipped over and squashed. Apparently it was strong enough. We got a couple other things though that we did lose. You know, and even here, you got the one I showed you, the archway that worked, the one archway, another one that crumbled. It used to be, you know, like this tall. Now it's way down here. And the next one next to it is absolutely fine. Not an entirely large amount of rhyme or reason, but that's one reason why too at the end of the year I like to clean off all the vines and stuff, whatever's growing on there. Oh, I didn't see that before either. I don't know if you guys can see this in here. I think this is a Nanking bush cherry. This one ripped and that one split there. So interesting, couple good breaks. But I like to kind of try to keep up on stuff where, like, all this extra tomato here, this is just crumbly right now, but if you look at it, it adds a lot more surface area to catch. Now this side didn't really have any, but this one was pet clean. You know, the one that got squished didn't even have that extra opportunity to grab more stuff. Thankfully, my muscadine grape welded trellis here is doing really nice. Thankfully, the trifoliate citrus are lasting. They didn't have any issues. The kiwi trellis looks fine. I mean, I dropped 2 trees on top of that before and had to rebuild it already. Eventually I'm gonna have to change some things on the top, and I know that, but I'm gonna try to let these vines get more established before I have to do that. Everything else looks pretty good. These plum trees here didn't seem to get too much at all. This one growing up here, that's one of the ones I bought with our first YouTube payout ever. I wanted to take something and have something where, like, all those people who've watched our videos, who subscribed to our channel, who, you know, gave us the watch time and the subscribers, were even open for monetization. That when we got that first return on that YouTube investment from YouTube itself, I bought this plum tree, one back there, and then one back here was not doing too good because we dropped a couple trees on it. But that way I kind of always have this here to remember those days and when that happened. So kind of cool. Definitely not ideal to see things that you've been working hard on get crushed, but some of that, it just simply doesn't have the structural integrity and the strength to resist. Both some of the plants, like this, you know, tree that was dying back, or some of the ones that I hadn't pruned back, and then also some of the structures. But that just gives me an opportunity. It served its purpose for years. This was pretty much free. It was just stuff I had, you know, laying around that I invested in it. These are just cut off pieces of 4x4 welded wire I chucked up there. Some extra wire. I'll be able to reuse it all. And even these, the cedar here, you know, these old poles, we'll use that for our Viking funerals. When we have an animal that gets sick and dies or something like that, the Ozark ground here is so much rock and clay, we don't really bury them. And we don't want to leave them laying around for the scavengers, and we don't want to pass on anything that they have to the rest of the animals. So we'll give them a Viking funeral, and cedar burns really good and hot. And it can burn up all those bones and everything, and we like the end result where all that's left is a kind of just crumbly pile of ash and stuff that we can add to the soil and keep things going. So happy to see that sun out there today. Happy to see the snow and stuff melting behind me. We'll probably get it some more. We're only nearing the end of January here, so between the rest of January and heading into February, we'll probably get some more. Hopefully it won't be that much, and at least if it is, all these guys kind of already were put through what they were going to be put through. If we had a big ice storm, I'd expect a whole lot more destruction. Sad to see. Gives me more work to do, but in the end, you know, that's life. It ebbs and flows. Sometimes everything dies in the drought. Sometimes everything dies in the flood. Some things persevere and make it through. And I actually got a video I think I'm going to put out for you guys about just kind of having stronger stuff. Better genetics for your flocks, for, you know, your poultry, for your sheep, your goats, your whatever. And just kind of how to beef that up a bit where you don't have a bunch of sissy animals that are constantly on the verge of death. We got a couple things we do around here. Some of it's worked out rather well for us, and I think it's good to pass on to everybody, especially, you know, any of you guys who are thinking of this type of stuff or just starting out, transition to this lifestyle. We kind of jumped in head over heels, all in right away, and could have almost been overwhelming. We persevered through it, but we've learned a lot the hard way, and I certainly don't want others to do the same. So we'll see you next time. Papa out.
Thank you for watching. Hit the like button. Thumbs up. But well. Try yours, child. Whoa, there we go.